Okay. Hey, welcome everybody. This is a little presentation on the Canterbury Tales. This is the presentation I always give every year, and since I'm not actually there, this is how I'm going to deliver it to you. So today's Tuesday, December 9. Your job is just sit back and listen, pay attention, kind of go along for the ride. I don't know how long this is going to last. Right now in Milwaukee, it is quarter to 11, so it's quarter to midnight your time. It's a Sunday night. The Lions did win today, I believe, 34-17. I missed the game, but saw it on the highlight reel. So anyway, hope you had a great weekend. I hope you had a good Monday yesterday with the vocab. So here is my Canterbury Tales presentation to you. The goal here today is to leave the room today with an understanding of what the Canterbury Tales are, how they came to be, what the purpose of them is, and why it's important in terms of the canon of literature. Okay, so let's have a look at Geoffrey Chaucer here. If Chuck Norris and Santa Claus combined, you would get a guy who kind of looks like this, 14th century guy. Okay, remember whenever you say the 14th century, that means the 1300s. So we are living in the 21st century now, that is to say the 2000s. So Geoffrey Chaucer, pretty cool dude, spelled his name Geoffrey with a G, very British of him. And he is the narrator in the Canterbury Tales. And so when you read the prologue and you listen to the prologue, you kind of imagine Geoffrey Chaucer taking part in this pilgrimage and recording the stories and the descriptions of the people. So this is a kind of a crude, almost like a watercolor drawing of the route. But as you can see up here, London up here, and then south and east is Canterbury down here. And let's take a little better look at it right here. The pilgrimage route, 55 miles, roughly that measures 55 miles from London to Canterbury, two major cities in England even to this day. So if you can follow that red line down there, this is a Google Earth snapshot here. That's it. It's a 55-mile walk. Why did people back in the 14th century, why did they take pilgrimages? Why would they walk 55 miles from London to Canterbury? Why not go on horseback, something like that? Well, as you'll read, yeah, some of them did go on horseback, but most of them walked. The wife of Bath, that you're going to look at in more detail, was on a horse, and some people did have horses. The knight is on a horse, a very fine horse. But the idea of making a pilgrimage is to make a long journey. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to take you a long time. And usually a pilgrimage is something you make, a trip that you make for religious purposes. So here's the starting point. As it looked perhaps in 1386, April of 1386, when the Canterbury Tales starts, when that prologue starts, this is the time period that Chaucer is describing. The Tabard Inn. Some artists believe that this is maybe what it looked like. This is kind of an old sketch of it. Was in London. This is where Chaucer met these other 29 pilgrims, and noticed that they were gathered together the night before, and they were discussing this trip they were going to take, and he decided to join them. And when he did, he kind of recorded the events that happened and the tales that they told, and he said, "Oh, this will make a great story," and he wrote it. Some people argue, no, Chaucer really didn't go on the pilgrimage. He just knew of the pilgrimages that people took, and he made up stories about them anyway. Hard to say. Those things are lost to history, so it's anybody's guess at this point. So the Tabard Inn does not exist anymore as it looked back then. It does not look like this anymore, although that is kind of cool. But it looks like this right now. I'm going to break away from the PowerPoint just for a second, and let's go to Google Earth, shall we? All right. So I was curious about this, and I just had to find out a little bit more for myself. So we're going to zoom into jolly old England here, brilliant. Right. Click in London, ring 'em up, dial it in. Flying right down low, getting right into the city. Okay, so we are just north of the Thames River. That's Thames. Please don't call it Thames. It's the Thames River. All right. So that's central London there. But what we want to do is we actually want to go south of the Thames. Okay, over here. No, don't turn it around. Oh, where are we going? Where are we going? Whoa, kids, look out, look out. We're going. Oh my gosh, we landed right smack in the middle of the street. Where are we? Where are we? Let's take a look. Whoa, that's not where I wanted to be. Hang on, hang on, hang on. Let me get back to it. Where was the Tabard Inn? It was around here somewhere. Let's have a look around, if we can. Bollocks. Yes, let's go down the street a bit here. Right about here? I think that looks about right. Oh, there it is. Yes. All right, brilliant. Right here, okay, this skinny little storefront, this little facade. Let me go down the road one more click for you here. One more click. Didn't quite do it. Didn't do anything. There we go. That's what I want. Okay, so what do we have here? We got a dry cleaners. We have a deli. All right, and then right here, there's a sign that sticks out. Let's zoom in on that a little bit, as much as we can. And you will see that this place is called Copy Prints Limited. All right, Copy Prints Ltd. All right, that is the site of the Tabard Inn. As it is today, it's just a copy shop. It's like an office supply store. It's very, very tiny. Yes, I've Googled them. I've looked them up. They still are in business. This, if you look down here, the imagery date of this was just this past summer. So as of June of 2014, they were still in business. And by the way, I think this is kind of cool. Oh, now I jumped across the street again. Shoot. Okay, yeah. Apparently in June of 2014, on some day, this little deli called Flavors of Naples. Naples is in Italy. Notice Flavors is spelled F-L-A-V-O-U-R-S. All right, the special of the day is on this board. Let's see what it was. What would you have gotten there? Oh, come on. I'm going to zoom in. Oh, come on. Well, anyway, you're going to have to trust me. Oh, there it is. It's penne pasta with smoked salmon in a creamy tomato sauce. Yes, right there. Penne with smoked salmon and fresh, creamy tomato sauce. Isn't that nice? It's lovely. You can take a virtual little tour of this street of London. This is Borough High Street, as you see on the sign right there. Borough High Street, the corner of Borough High Street and something else. I don't know what the other street is. What's the cross street here? It's Trinity. Of course it is. Trinity Street. Right. Everybody knows that one. Hey, there's one of those buses. Let's see if we can catch it. Come here. Oh, he vanished. Okay. It's like being in the Matrix. Pretty cool. All right, so let's get out of there. Right. And we're going to get right back to this presentation right here. Okay, so copy prints right in that area there. So moving on. Yes, if you go to copy prints today, there is a plaque. This is a little historical plaque. They kind of look like this around much of Europe. They're usually circular, usually blue. Usually have these raised letters. That's called embossed lettering right here. But here was what it says: London Borough of Southwark. Geoffrey Chaucer, there's his dates, as we saw before. England's greatest medieval poet and author of the Canterbury Tales. The Tabard Inn, site from which Chaucer's pilgrims set off in April 1386, voted by the people. Incidentally, the quotation marks, I'm very, very sorry, British people, but the quotation marks are absolutely wrong. Canterbury Tales is the title of a major work of literature that should be in italics. Now, it's possible, I guess, with the embossed lettering that they couldn't do italics. I don't know why not. Maybe they were too cheap. I don't know, but just for your records, quotations go around shorter works like names of poems, names of songs, names of individual TV episodes. But the larger titles of the larger works, like the TV series or a film series or a magazine title, newspaper title, that should be in italics. All right, moving on. So, yeah, in as far back as the 14th century, people started taking these pilgrimages, these 55-mile walks from London to Canterbury in the spring, always in the springtime. If you read that prologue, it says, hey, folks, you know, when it starts to warm up and the flowers start to bud again and the birds start to chirp, and that's when people want to, go on these pilgrimages. Well, why is that? Why are they going all the way to Canterbury? Why are they walking from London to Canterbury? I mean, nice looking place, okay, very fancy cathedral, really pretty cool. In fact, interesting to note, I'm not going to do it in Google Earth now, but cathedrals, if you did not know, have a very long section here okay? That is called the nave. And then they usually have near the top a shorter section that crosses here that's called the transept. And if you view it from the air, it makes a crucifix. It makes a cross. Okay, sometimes you can see in the case of Canterbury, it actually has two little transepts. But this larger one up here, way up at the top, very, very clearly shows a cross pattern. So just get on Google Earth and look at any major cathedrals, Christian cathedrals around the world. Notre Dame in Paris is a great example. Many of our smaller churches here in the United States, if you think of it, you may even go to one of these churches that's like that. But a nave and a transept makes a cross. So when viewed from above, as if God were looking down, it makes a cross. Many of you probably did not know that. All right, so here was Chaucer's plan when he started out writing the Canterbury Tales. If you go back and read the prologue again, it says that he met these people at this inn, the Tabard Inn, now the copy shop, as we saw, and there were 29 pilgrims plus him, which makes a total of 30 people on this pilgrimage. And the plan was that each person is supposed to tell 2 stories on the pilgrimage, and on the way there, and 2 on the way back. Well, if everybody tells 4 stories, and you got 30 people, that should be 120 stories total in the Canterbury Tales work. If you count them up, technically there's only 22 complete ones, and then there are a couple of fragments. So some people say, well, he only wrote 24. Other people say, well, no, he didn't finish 2 of them. There's only 22. But it's a fraction, a mere fraction of what he set out to do. So in the prologue, it's very clear as to what the purpose of the story is. It's to pass the time, to entertain people, and the host of the group says, hey, whoever tells the best story, on the way there, on the way back, whatever, gets a free dinner at the Tabard Inn upon returning. That was the incentive, the little proverbial carrot at the end of the stick dangling out in front of them. So as I said, Chaucer only got to about 24 of the stories, give or take. Then he died and left us hanging. What a jerk. All right, so just kidding on that. All right, so what's the reason? Why this pilgrimage? Why did people do that? And by the way, in England to this day, yes, there are people who still make this walking pilgrimage. It's a kind of a touristy thing to do, but, you know, some people like me who are into literature, you know, it might be fun to do someday in my golden years. But here's the reason. The reason is because of the martyrdom, the assassination or the murder of Thomas Becket, or Thomas A. Becket, as he is sometimes referred to. He was the Archbishop of Canterbury from 1162 until his murder in 1170. So you can see that he was only Archbishop for about 8 years before he got taken out. He is a saint, so he is now known as St. Thomas, and he is also a martyr. Martyr, of course, is somebody who dies either willingly or is assassinated for their faith, for their belief. And so both the Catholic Church and the Anglican Communion recognize him as a saint and a martyr. So what happened? Well, he got into a fight. He got into a conflict with the King of England, Henry II, basically over rights and privileges of the church, and got murdered by followers of the king in Canterbury Cathedral. We're going to take a closer look at that story, and a little bit later today, you're going to do a little bit of reading online about that, which gives a very gross, disgusting, but very vivid, detailed description of the actual killing itself. So here's Canterbury. So this is where Thomas Becket worked. He was the Archbishop here. This is where he spent most of his days. Yes, he did some traveling here and there, but a pretty nice office building, if you will. This is the west main entrance, and I just, you know, I love pictures. So here's the nave, as we talked about, the longer section looking forward. You see the beautiful archwork here, the flying buttresses, okay, which serve to keep the roof strong. Okay, pretty amazing what people did back in the Middle Ages in terms of construction without even a Home Depot or Lowe's around. Hey, it's December, why not? You know, little Christmassy Canterbury there. This is what it looks like there, all lit up, very, very nice, very attractive. Here's a Candley shot, nice little candle bits. Now, why on earth would somebody put a candle right in the middle of the floor? I'm so glad you asked. Is this where Thomas Becket got killed? No. Close, but no. This is actually where his tomb used to be. That candle remains there at all times. I don't know if it's always lit or not. Maybe not for safety reasons, because many tourists do come and tour Canterbury. It's one of the great cathedrals of England, right up there with Westminster Abbey as well. But this is the site of the tomb, where the tomb used to be. It was a raised tomb, raised sarcophagus, pretty fancy, was destroyed by Henry VIII later on. We'll get to that in a little bit, but that's where it used to be. All right, now it's time for sad Canterbury. Yes, poor Thomas Becket. What happened? Why did he have to die, kids? Let's find out. All right, as I said, it resulted from a conflict between him and his friend, the King of England himself, Henry II. They used to be pretty good buds. Here they are making their secret handshake, okay? And they used to be pretty good friends. You can see, of course, this would be, of course, the king with the crown, and there's that little pope kind of looking hat. That would be the Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas Becket. He also has the crucifix scepter there. So what you're seeing here in this old drawing is a representation of two very powerful forces in Europe and England at this time. Of course, the monarchy, the king, very powerful, and then the church, okay, or the clergy. It's two very powerful institutions. Now, the thing is that Henry II and Thomas being friends, when Henry made Thomas the Archbishop of Canterbury, that was a pretty high position. That was a pretty good gig. And Henry was thinking, I've got one of my good buddies in a very high position within the church. I know the church is powerful. I, as king, can use the church to my advantage over people because people had very strong religious beliefs. And so he really believed that having a best friend in that position gave him an incredible amount of power over the church. He thought, well, my friend's going to do anything I ask him, so any changes I want made in terms of how the church does business, my good buddy Thomas will do it because he's my buddy. That was the thinking. All right, well, they had a little bit of a fallout. Here's what happened. Thomas Becket and Henry II were good friends, as I said. They were both very powerful people. Becket, of course, representing the church, Henry representing the monarchy as king. And when Henry asked Thomas for some favors, Becket upheld the church's beliefs and refused. And Henry said, and this is kind of the famous quote, and it's been quoted in various wordings, but basically, who will rid me of this meddlesome priest? Well, there were 4 knights standing around, and they interpreted that as, hey, how about somebody go and take care of this guy? All right, something like that. We don't know. History is a little foggy on this, and nobody really knows for sure. But basically, that is what happened. You're going to read an article a little bit later today if you have time, or tomorrow. You can push it off till tomorrow if you need to. And it'll give you the full story of exactly what the king wanted and why Thomas refused. But it basically had to do with Thomas wanted the church to be able to legally try criminals, especially criminals from within the church, if there were corrupt church people. And the king wanted to try them in the kingly courts. Thomas wanted to try them in the church courts. They had a disagreement over that. That was one thing. And then a second thing years later, after they kind of patched up their differences after that, Thomas had excommunicated some people that the king liked, and he wanted them reinstated, and Thomas refused. And so the end result is the king gets mad, and he says, who will rid me of this meddlesome priest? So these 4 knights were standing around that evening, and they heard him say that, and nobody knows exactly whether the king meant, I wish somebody would go kill him, or just, when is somebody going to do something about this guy, or, nobody really knows what the intentions were. But what we do know is that there were 4 knights who heard him say it, and they interpreted this as, we need to go kill this Archbishop Thomas Becket for the king. So they came to hack him down, December 29, 1170. Here's a genuine smartphone photo. You notice the resolution back then was not quite as sharp as your iPhone 6s today, or 7s, or I don't know what the heck they're up to. I still have one of those cheapy little slide-out texting phones. Aren't I cool? All right, so, but here's, another depiction of what it would look like. So poor Thomas, defenseless, the servant of the Lord and of the church right here in a very submissive position as he's being subdued and conquered and hacked to tiny little bits by the knights. All right, here's where it happened. This is the shrine right in front of this area right here. There were 4 knights. If you look carefully in this picture, you will see 4 swords. Take a second now. Look it over. Where are the 4 swords in this sculpture? Okay. We mentioned a minute ago how many cathedrals, when viewed from the air, you'd see that the floor plan and the structure of the building is like a cross. It's no accident that swords back then also were in the shape of a cross. So of course we have a sword here, and you can see the part of the handle there, okay, where the hilt is. So you've got sword, sword. This is just a cross. This is not a sword. The other swords, of course, are the shadows, okay, the shadows, very symbolic, so they achieve that with lighting. So the shadows to kind of represent the sinister sort of undercover job of coming and murdering an archbishop, a man of the cloth. So I'm sure those 4 guys went straight to hell when they died. I'm just saying. Okay, and it's not swearing. That's not swearing in school. It's just HE double hockey sticks. That's all I'm saying. All right, so here's those words again. King Henry II says, "Who will rid me of this troublesome priest?" And it is reported, as you will read in the article in the next little part of class here, that St. Thomas Becket's last words, reportedly, there was an eyewitness, this guy right here, okay, with a bald spot. Yeah, a lot of help. He's I don't know what he's doing. You know, here's this guy being, you know, well, not gunned down, but just cut down. And I don't know, he's over here playing Nintendo 3DS or something. I don't know what he's doing there. But reportedly, this monk says that Thomas's last words were, "For the name of Jesus and the protection of the church, I am ready to embrace death." Very dramatic. So he is very, very honored and venerated as a saint. So Thomas Becket's tomb used to sit in Canterbury on this platform where that candle is that I showed you earlier. Henry VIII had it destroyed. Henry VIII was, just read up on him sometime. He was just an absolutely out of control wild man. Made no sense, certifiably loony. But anyway, Thomas Becket's original tomb, it was destroyed, and now all that's left there is the slab, and so that's where the candle was. So that's just one idea that an artist had of what it might look like. Now, Chaucer, on the other hand, his tomb is still intact today. If you go to London and you go to the very famous cathedral in London called Westminster Abbey, William Shakespeare himself was married in that church. Many other people throughout history have been married there. But there is a section in the back of that church called Poets' Corner, and it has a lot of tombs in it. Some of them are in the wall, like Chaucer's tomb, and so, yep, Chaucer is buried right in this little box here, okay? And then on the floor are other graves. They're actually, the people are buried under there. Most of them are poets, some of them are composers. There's a little tribute to Franz Joseph Haydn, of course, who was a composer. So anyway, if you go to London, you go to Westminster Abbey, you can check out Poets' Corner and check it out. Okay, so that is, just in brief, the purpose of the Canterbury Tales and the purpose of the pilgrimage, really. So the idea of the pilgrimage is that if you make this trip from London to Canterbury, and you suffer for the cause. When you get to Canterbury, you go to the cathedral, you light a candle, you start at the Tabard Inn, you go all the way through the streets. You get here, you light a candle, you say some prayers, you pay homage basically to St. Thomas, who was murdered in that church. And the belief is that St. Thomas is a saint who, if you pray to him the right way, he will bless you and he will help either you or some loved one on your behalf who is ill. Okay, so he's one who can cure sickness. So some of you may have some experience with this. You know that there are certain saints you pray to. There's a saint you pray to when you lose something. I can't remember what saint it is. There's a saint you pray to for for health or for wisdom or for whatever the case is. There is one unsubstantiated story that Geoffrey Chaucer himself was making the pilgrimage with the pilgrims in real life because his wife was ill, and he believed that if he made the pilgrimage all the way to Canterbury Cathedral and prayed to St. Thomas, that maybe St. Thomas would send a blessing his way and cure his wife. But Chaucer's wife's name was Philippa, and Philippa lived to be, I don't know, in her 60s, I think, and she died, and so I don't know if there's anything to that. All right, so that's a quick look at the pilgrimage itself. why people did that back then. Some people still do to this day, but that's what Chaucer is describing. These pilgrims on a walking trip or horseback trip from London to Canterbury, and the tales themselves are a means of passing the time, but also a means of winning a prize. So really the Chaucer's Canterbury Tales is what we call a frame story. Frame story is kind of a story within a story, kind of like you have a picture frame around the outside and then the picture on the inside. It's the same kind of an idea. So you have kind of the story of the narrator and all these pilgrims walking along, talking to each other, and then within that storyline of them making the pilgrimage from London to Canterbury, each of them tells a story, and then we go into that story. You're going to read two of them. You're going to read the Pardoner's Tale, and you're going to read the Wife of Bath's Tale. Bath is a city in England. Okay, has nothing to do with a bathtub. All right, so the Wife of Bath is just a woman from the city of Bath, and she is, if you read carefully in the prologue, read her description of what she looks like and some clues about her, you will discover that she's been around. She's an interesting lady. So consider the narrator of each story and the story they tell. All right, I will give you other videos a little bit later in the week, just kind of explaining the characters and then the stories as we get to them. And man, I hope I'm back soon. Things are looking up, but it's every day I think it's going to be great. There's another setback, another something or other. So hey, miss you all. Hope you're behaving. Please work on your essays. Some of you have, thank you. Some of you have seen nothing yet. When I get back, I'm going to have a lot of catching up to do. I won't have time to chase you down the hall and ask for this. There just won't be any time. So think very carefully about this. If you know you're not doing your essay, you're making a choice. So let me encourage you. Please, get on that. Give me something. All right, that's it for now. It's getting late. You need to move on to the next thing in class. Martin out.